Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. Again, thank everybody at Patreon for your support. We couldn't do it without the growing family over on Patreon.
No, we could not. We're so grateful.
Absolutely. So, want to share with you quite a bit of information that's come in over the last couple of days in multiple channelings and other sources as well. So, if I told you that they've discovered underground reptilian city, guess where? Under LA. You might have said, well, it's old news. Yeah, absolutely. It is kind of old news, but again, people are discovering these things for the first time all the time. And the reality is this underground reptilian city in LA is still there. And also, there's in fact reptilian cities all over the world. In reality, there are reptilians underneath all the major cities, at least the top 100 cities or so across the earth. You know, when you look at this is obviously the Vatican, and you look at this at one angle and you see a kind of a grotesque looking vision of Christ, but you look at another angle and you see a reptilian being that almost looks like it has wings. You know, again, look closely. Look really, really closely at what's going on.
They depend on trickery. They depend on, getting people's attention shifted here and shifted there. Yet the people's main focus and energy is still being spent on holding up this whole regime that we have that call themselves religious, the organized church. This is all trickery. It's all smoke and mirrors.
It completely is. Can you see that? I mean, look at the head looking this way. It looks almost like a crocodile's head with its arms raised up and wings. And in fact, it looks like there's a whole bunch of other bats or something following them. Yes, we've come to the realization, many of us, that David Icke was right the whole time. And we all see things from different lenses. But yeah, the politicians, they are pretty darn scaly when you come down to it. They are definitely serving the dark system. The underground reptilian cities in the plural, are still there. They have been occupied for a long period of time. In fact, during the whole Kali Yuga. Did strange people live under the site of Los Angeles? There's a lot of strange people in Los Angeles and below Los Angeles, as we know. And what's the purpose of reptilian beings underneath not just Los Angeles, but LA, Phoenix, Tokyo, etc., all around the world, Beijing, Moscow, well, certainly underneath Paris and London and Rome. Oh, yeah. Well, they're holding down vibrations. They're holding down the frequency. This is their purpose. They were left here when the power structure that came into place initially took over control of this planet. They were brought here. They were put in their places underneath the human dwellings, and they're there to again mind control and energetically control the frequency of the masses through different technologies and even just their presence. As you're looking at these maps, as it is something that's pretty fascinating to see. Again, these articles that talk about discoveries that happened 100 years ago, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, more. Yeah, Elon Musk didn't invent the idea of drilling holes into LA. George Warren Shufelt did it first. Well, did he? Well, in these times, and also in what's been allowed to be covered. One of the more colorful urban legends of LA is that lizard people, an advanced race of humanoid beings, I should say, who created an underground city here some 5,000 years ago. 5,000 to 6,000 does feel fairly accurate. That again is where I feel that the power structure shifted as we came out of a Bronze Age in which, yes, humans saw extraterrestrials and other interdimensional beings regularly and interacted also with beings like nature spirits and elementals on a regular basis. Humans had a different perspective. What's happened over the last 5,000 to 6,000 years is that our frequency has been limited more and more and more. And now it's going to expand. Oh yeah, it's absolutely going to expand. And it is expanding drastically. So it's interesting to see this article. This super race allegedly related to the Mayans. There's a lot of distortions and a lot of everything in our history is distorted. Obviously, when we get some big reveals that really are big reveals, they always have a twist on them, and they want to always control the narrative. So what they found was a network of 285 tunnels fully equipped with vast chambers large enough to accommodate 1,000 families who lived off a store of food and water in place there. Yes, people have gone into the earth in order to escape cataclysms on the surface. But also there are other races of beings that live inside the earth to this very day. And there are legends of the Native Americans, the indigenous people, that will speak of all different sorts of beings, from the ant people to the reptilians, to others that look completely, pretty much perfectly human. And we shared legends from the Cherokee about how they were saved by another branch of the human family chain that came to the surface in order to help them with battles, as I didn't touch that. And the screen just scrolled downwards. But, again, this is their technology, the controller's technology. Yeah, everything that you have as far as technology at your hands is really from the controllers. It's reptilian in nature. So again, why did the Native Americans get pushed off their lands? Why were they persecuted by the Europeans? Because the Europeans were pushing the system, and they were just tools in and of themselves. This is what the system does. The good news is that absolutely, while it's not the case from what we see, when you look at things like this, right now there's 9, another one just happened, 9 quakes in New Jersey again. Now, we don't get that these are battles with the white hats and the black hats, physical battles happening underneath with Draco being destroyed by the Galactic Federation. We do not get that. We do not get that. Just to repeat, we do not get that. Are they expanding caverns? Yes. Are they expanding networks? Yes. Are they also trying to sabotage the Earth for when they trigger the big earthquakes? Yeah, all the above. They're also heading deeper, because the energy on the surface is going to make it very uncomfortable for them, because the sun is going to become very uncomfortable for them, and the frequencies coming from the sun also are going to make it really uncomfortable for them. By the way, just this curious little 1.7 up in Aurora, Maine, 7.9 kilometers down. As we had talked about before, you'll find a lot of curious little quakes around military bases. Because again, the military doesn't work for humans. The military works for reptilians to control humans. This is the big reality. Whoa, it looks like they put military bases on top of reptilian strongholds, or caverns that the Native Americans knew about that were entranceways to the inner earth. Well, that's because they've always been there. Their gathering places, their meeting places. This is where they do house a lot of their technology. This is where they do have their meetings and gatherings, as well as Antarctica. It's part of the reveal. And then we see all these just interesting little excerpts. This is from 1667-ish. And you see these giants that look to be 10 feet tall, a good 10 feet tall, and these are 2 females apparently. Tartary. And what really was Tartaria? There's so much hidden. And the reality is, if you were born on a golden age, during a golden age on Earth, you would have a very different type of body than we have today. And we've done channelings from the being that is okay with being called Adama, from Telos. Telos, Mount Shasta. He is a fifth density being that has been here for a long time, way before the lizards came, way before the dark system came. In fact, he's watched 3 complete cycles of the yugas, where they progressed from a Kali Yuga to a bronze to a silver to a golden, and then back down in a whole big loop. He's watched that happen 3 times, and he's starting to watch the 4th from the information that we get. So how long can he live? Pretty much indefinitely. It's very much like what the Greek legends speak of with a golden age. Mortals will live lifespans like the gods. And when they decide they've had enough of this experience, they just lay down and they kind of go to sleep and they leave their bodies. And that's exactly the situation with this being. And again, he's okay with being called Adama, whether or not we don't get that that's necessarily his original given name, or personalized frequency is probably more accurate, because again, he's born in an age in which everybody is telepathic and nothing is really verbalized. He helps along with others. There are others that are helping to maintain frequency, and they are working alongside with the Galactic Federation, not blasting Dracos, not doing that type of work, as they are on 5th density, so they are at a much higher frequency than the Draco can reach, and that the Anunnaki that serve them can reach. But he is helping us, and they will be able to help us more now that we are actually in a Bronze Age.
I thought that was really, really good news when that came about, that these beings can actually step in and assist us more. The more we are willing to acknowledge them, the more we're changing our own frequency, moving up in vibration, making that effort, the more that they can come and meet us, and they can help us, more than halfway, but not over the top, not too much, still allowing us to live our human experience. So this was a fun channeling that we had this afternoon. I think I just love it when Mike can cover it for me, because he knows the questions to ask, and then the information just comes out, and then we're able to share this with you guys. I'm not in a full trance, but I'm pretty sleepy when this information is coming. It's not something that I can easily remember if we don't get it recorded. So just really fun information today.
And that was last night too. So last night, as we had shared, we had a family member stop by and visit, and we hadn't seen him in years, and it was wonderful. So our sleeping patterns were disrupted and we couldn't fall asleep, and I kept kind of having visions of Shasta and feeling Adama's energy. When we went to Shasta, what was that, 4 years ago? I guess it was about 4 years ago or so, maybe even 5 years ago. I forget now exactly, 2019-ish, I think. It was really wild, because he basically appeared in the room that we were staying in, and we got a really good channeling with him. And there's all sorts of energies around Shasta, both extremely high and benevolent, like him and the people he works with. And then there is also the draconian energies too around the area, and we felt and sensed that as well. It was really kind of shocking how close the real benevolent was with the real malevolent, but they're on different densities. And so we became aware of him and his energies and his team, which had been in place since the time of Lemuria and Mu, as these are very, very advanced beings. He is a Pleiadian and Syrian lineage.
Mm-hmm. He does come from the different stars, but one of his missions is here to help. Now, one thing that he did say is that he is an arm of the Galactic Federation. He is one of many, many arms, and he's someone who is here sort of kind of boots on the ground to help assist people in their mission in their divine walk with the 3D and humanity. He's here to assist us, helping moving us up through the different densities, because it's not really easy when you're down in this lower dense field, and there's in certain areas there's other beings that are subplanted just for the sole purpose in keeping that density even denser in the bigger cities. If one wants to escape, it's very difficult. You can have the desire, but you also are going to need help from other guides and other angels, because these dense reptilianoids, they hold this energy, and it's almost like a magnetic force forcing someone to stay in the bigger cities where they're at. But if one of these beings, if they are part of your higher self and you don't like where you're at, and you reach out and you start doing the right thing, you eat the right foods, you take care of your body, you take care of your life, you get things cleaned up, you can really do a lot to get yourself out of those bad situations if you want to, but you have to ask, and you have to do the right thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. The movies give us so much. It's almost all there, really, in so many ways. If you guys remember in The Matrix, the scenes where Neo first wakes up, and realizes, wow, is this my real reality? But then later on, and he realizes, humans are a battery for AI, and it is true. This is absolutely true. They are using us as an energy source and a food source. So the reality there is undeniable. Yet you remember when at the end of is it the second one, I think, where he wakes up, or he's in a coma, and I'm trying to remember how it goes, but he's asleep and Smith is in another body asleep, and they're both going to end up waking up, and then that reality becomes distorted too. Well, we're in a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream, and it might go on ad infinitum in reality. But as far as the control of these reptilian, because they truly are reptilian, and that's why you got the reptilian wikis, and that's why you got the wikis for obviously the Anunnaki, because they control the Anunnaki, they control the Igigi. This is part of the real matrix that we live in, and they do have most of the world totally led astray. When you're looking at the Bible, you're looking at it, a book that's been created by beings ultimately not too dissimilar than this, along with their human slaves. There are some truths in there, and there are some allusions to higher consciousness as well. We've talked about Psalm 82 and looking at it from the name of God's perspective, where you're actually looking at the actual words that are translated from the Hebrew. And, this is the assembly of the gods. The high God takes his place in the assembly of the gods. And, what the distortion is again, you'll have, and I do see people, like there was one person trolling earlier saying, all you need is Jesus and the Bible. And then, thankfully somebody else was going and doing the dirty work to, push back, because, a lot of times that's simply CIA, FBI, or some of the Illuminati that are doing it themselves. It could be somebody hired by a politician or in political, position of significance. This is what they do because they are all part of the same system. Deuteronomy 32 is talking about the same thing. Yeah, if you look to the Greek myths, it talks about the assembly of the Greek gods. If you go and you actually, look at the source material, the Enuma Elish, or Enki and the World Order, or Era and Isham, these different Sumerian books, they give you the clear picture because these are the source materials.
That's where a lot of people, I think, they're steering wrong because they don't even understand that there is source material. They're only told, well, this was channeled, by God, and then that's just that. But when you look around, you can see all these stories in the Bible. They're just copies. They're copies of copies of copies, and there is nothing original in there in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. That's the trick, and the alternative media has completely been infiltrated just to hold this vibration to a very low standard to keep people from looking and searching for the truth.
Yeah, well, this is just what they do too. So just look to, who is getting millions of views. If they're getting millions of views, they're getting millions of views because they're saying something the system wants to promote. And they could be exposing everything happening on one level, maybe the big realization about the medical system. On another level, maybe the realization that none of the politicians are really out for your best interest, or, so basic as all the mainstream media are obviously on the take. But there's still something that they're pushing that is part of the paradigm of the controllers. Because once you are not pushing any of their paradigms, they will snuff you down and squish you so that you can't reach that many people. It's a self-defense mechanism for the system. So you see, and this is somebody's research that did a good job comparing these different books that are far more ancient than the Bible, thousands of years older than anything New or Old Testament. In Enki and the World Order, they're talking about the structure of the Anunnaki and the gods. The term Anunnaki, alternative spellings Anunnaku, Anunna, with both one and two ends, is applied inconsistently. The meaning appears to shift over time. Yeah, and it's interesting because, like over here in Era and Ishtam, the Anunna appear in a similar fashion. They're now specifically a set of underworld deities. And the term Igigi is applied to the gods of the heaven. In the Enuma Elish, Marduk divides the Anunna into the Anunnaki, you could say, into 300 assigned to the heavens and 300 to the netherworld. When you look to the book of Enoch that so many people will see for the first time and go, oh my God, this is it. And then not realize, no, it's still part of the system. Because again, this is that source material that they're taking it from. And yet even this material is still giving you from the perspective of the victors, because that's the thing to always keep in mind. The victors write the history. The farther back, the less revisions have taken place, so you could get a little bit more clarity. So King Marduk divides the gods, all the Anunnaki, into upper and lower groups, 300 into the heavens to guard the decrees of Anu, and appointed them as a guard. Next, he arranged the organization of the netherworld. In heaven and netherworld, he stationed 600 gods. Enki and the world order, they are stated to be gods who decide the fates. They're also known as the serpents that decide the fates, the reptilians that decide the fates. Enki is clearly identified as the Anunna god here as well. And it's interesting, too, because in some spots you have Marduk seeming to usurp the power of Enki, and Marduk was thought to be the son of Enki. The Anunna, the great gods, have taken up dwellings in your midst and consumed their food in your Guguna shrines with their single trees. Household Sumer, may your sheepfolds be built and your cattle multiply. May your Guguna touch the skies. May your good temples reach up to the heavens. May the Anunna determine the destinies in your midst. So at this point in time, they mingled with us. So we're looking at different time frames. They were here, and then they left, but they set a certain number up to watch from above, the moon, other ships, and others into the underground world to guide and direct from below. So this is very, very interesting. In the descent of Anunna, they're identified specifically as the 7 judges of the underworld. And then you have the epic of Gilgamesh, when the Anunnaki, the judges, come together. Remember, what's the translation of Elohim? One of the translations in Hebrew, and in fact the oldest translation in Hebrew, is literally the judges. So again, the Elohim is the Anunnaki. These are the reptilians. When you are talking about the God of the Old Testament, when you're talking about Yahweh, you are talking about reptilians. This is really what you're talking about. So when we have, wonderful channels that are sharing a lot of good insight, but then they say, they end with "Yah bless" or something like that. They either don't realize or they do realize that they are still serving the reptilian overlords.
So in this world, being kind is something that helps move the vibration up, up, up. If you're in a place and people aren't very nice and you want more kindness, then you need to put it out there in the world and just continue to be kind, because it matters. It matters. It makes a difference. Those frequencies get sent out there just like a wave of energy, and it strikes other people, and then other people are kind to other people. And then maybe someone who might not have been kind, suddenly that wave hits them and they think, oh, wow, well, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something kind. So please keep at it. I know it's a long haul, but we're getting there.
Yes, and the sun itself. I mean, we were out in the sun and I was doing mantras, and it looks like everything is glowing and shimmering to a degree that feels totally above what we've had in the past. But every day now we're going to be stepping foot deeper and deeper into a Bronze Age and away from a Kali Yuga. So again, one size never fits all. That's the control system. Anything that says there's only one way is the control system, because they utilize that to keep us divided. Much love, source bless, and namaste.
Namaste.